Russell Atwood original.
A little bit too, even. So let's see.
I was going to tell a new ghost story that I was going to write, but it was really a one-joke ghost story, which I'll tell you very quickly, which was about a jilted lover who this woman rejects him, and he gets drunk and crashes his car into a tree, comes back as a ghost, and he decides to haunt her, and ends up in her apartment one day, and he's just sitting on her couch, and he's just kind of like, you know, when she comes into the room, and she's like startled, and he's like, oh, this is just your imagination. I'm not really a ghost. You're cracking up. And that's all he says, and then he just stays there, and she tries to ignore him, and then he disappears for like a month, and they'll just come back and go sit there and be like, oh, you're really losing it because I'm not a ghost. And so it's a whole passive-aggressive ghost thing where he doesn't come in there and go boo to her. He just like is like, no, you're going nuts. But he really is a ghost, and anyway, so she ends up committing suicide after like 18 years of this. And then he realizes that, oh, I don't have anything else to do. He's like, oh, there was that other girl in high school, but she's probably, you know, dead now. But she has like a daughter though. I can haunt her, and that's sort of how the story ends with him, like going off to haunt some like completely innocent victim, you know? A completely innocent victim though, anyway. But it made me think of this. There was actually, I lent Blake that collection of ghost stories from around the world, and they had these like very brief ghost stories, and one of them was about this lecherous old man who, you know, gets this maid pregnant, and she ends up committing suicide, and but then he's at this party one night, and this really beautiful girl like approaches him, and it's like, oh, I want to take you to this other wing of the mansion, and we're gonna like have sex. It's gonna be great. And he like follows her through, and it's like he takes her through. She takes him through like the cobwebby hallways of the mansion, and finally brings him to this room, and you know, like opens the door, and it's really dark, and she's like, oh, you know, follow me in. And she comes into the room, and he follows her in, and it turns out it's just like a closet, but it's all brick, and there's a steel door, or an iron door, and as he like realizes it's just like nothing in there, the door slams behind him, and he like lights a match, and he's looking at the girl, and he's like, you fool, you've locked us in. And she says, no, I haven't. And she leans against the wall and just fades away. Because she hasn't locked, you haven't locked us in, you just locked me in. Anyway, so that's just to show that like a lot of like ghost stories are really like jokes, you know. There's a sort of, you probably noticed that even going to like movies where people get scared and then you hear like laughter afterwards because, you know, the scare in the ghost stories is just like a punchline. Okay, so I didn't decide to do any of those. Instead, I'm going to tell you a story about Apartment 5 is Alive, which is the apartment I live in. And the backstory of it is that it's an apartment where a man used to have these outrageous Halloween parties. And the apartment got used to having these Halloween parties, but once the man died, and the next tenant came in and didn't have a Halloween party, well, the apartment was like, well, no, we need to have a Halloween party. And like the first new tenant was like this like 60-year-old woman, and on Halloween she didn't even like put out a pumpkin or anything. So at like 11 o'clock at night, he like arranges for her to like slip on something and fall crashing out the window and land face down on the sidewalk. And finally, some guests arrive in costume, but the apartment's a little disappointed because they all show up as like, you know, policemen and EMS guys. So anyway, but the next tenant is this guy who moves to New York and gets a job at like an advertising agency, but he never really had any imagination. Even in school, he just, not that he cheated, he did a lot of copy and paste, you know, cut and paste. Did a lot of cut and paste, you know. He went to the Google and he had to write a paper. He like, you know, said, you know, okay, I'm going to take that, and that's my term paper. And he got by, and he got away with it. So that was just the way he learned how to get by. And then he ends up coming to New York and working over his thing, and cut, paste doesn't work anymore. You have to have original ideas, and you have to be smart, and you have to be cutting edge. And so she, oh, fuck, I'm in this thing, and I'm in this thing, and everybody knows I'm nothing, and I don't have any ideas. And, but to kind of almost combat that, he makes sure he like gets an apartment in East Village. And he looks in the voice and he sees this apartment for rent, and he can't imagine why it's only like $800 a month, you know? And why isn't anybody living here? And it looks okay, you know? It's like there's no furniture, there's nothing in the apartment. And, you know, the landlord just hands him the keys and tells him to go look at it himself, you know, doesn't even like show him through. And he said, oh, this is cool. I'll be like, you know, okay. So he puts down the rent, and then he comes back into the apartment, he's like moving in, and then he like looks in the closet, and there's like a shelf, of course, like right over where you hang your stuff, but then there's like a further shelf, and there's all these boxes up there. And so, oh, by the way, this is, I always forget to tell, it's around September, end of September, and it's already going bad at work, you know, they're already saying, oh, that's a terrible idea. And so he pulls down these boxes, and it's full of Halloween decorations. And they're like inventive things too, you know, there's like faces coming out of walls, and, you know, these plastic shards that you can put in the window so it looks like somebody fell through the window, and yellow crime scene tape, and there's a beating heart that you can put in the loose floorboard so it looks like the telltale heart, and spider webs and a giant spider. All this stuff in the closet, it's ready made, and this is his chance to show the people in the office, I'm a creative person, so come Halloween, man, he's going to have a big Halloween party. He puts up all these decorations, and it seems like every part in the apartment seems to have a space for these decorations. Like, oh, that fits there, oh, that works there, that works. And suddenly he has this great, like, haunted house in his apartment, and he didn't really do anything. He basically cut and paste again. So he takes everything out of the box, and the last thing in the box is a black shower curtain. And the last room in his apartment that's not decorated is his bathroom. There's nothing in his bathroom that's scary. And but he takes a black shower curtain and he puts it up on the rail, and so you walk into the bathroom and there's a black shower curtain, but there's nothing behind it. And so anyway, he's already started talking at the office about, oh, I'm having this great Halloween party, you're going to see what I'm going to do. And there's this woman he likes at the office too, Sally, who, of course, thinks he's nothing, but he's like, oh, Sally, you're going to think, I'm going to blow your mind, because she's sort of a goth chick, so he's like, oh, you're going to see what I'm really like when you come to my Halloween party. And she's like, yeah, maybe. So anyway, so he's got this like black shower curtain left, and he's like, yeah, I have to step up to the plate. I have to like add something to this great haunted house thing there. I got to figure out what to put behind the black shower curtain so that when people come in to use the bathroom during the night, then they look behind the black shower and they turn and they see the horror and it scares them. But that'll be my thing, and I'll be like, yeah, I did that. You like that? That's what I did. But you know, he's not inventive. He can't think of anything. But, you know, he's normal, so he has fears, and he has things that just are deep in him that are dark in the corners, and one of the shadowy things he's scared of, he just flies into his mind. It's like a big mound of American chop suey with 2% white milk poured over it. Like, I mean, like a 5-foot mound of American chop suey, you know, like with the macaroni and there's meat in there and it's red, but then there's this white, you know, thing dripping over it, and it's the thing that flashes in his mind. Oh, I can't do that. You can't even imagine how he can do that. But anyway, the Halloween comes around, he doesn't do anything. He decides to leave it empty and think, oh, I'll be like the inventive thing. It's nothing there. And it's like, oh, you thought there's something there, and I left it empty. Okay, so anyway, the party comes. Everybody comes in costume, and of course, the backstory. Of course, I told you about the apartment. The apartment's thrilled because, of course, astronauts are showing up, and, you know, people dressed up as Amy Winehouse are showing up, and, you know, the apartment's like, oh man, I used to like have all these terrible, like, boring people who beat their children and, you know, fuck their dogs, and, behind closed doors, and the apartment saw all this, because, like, the apartment, even though the apartment only judges people by surface, once you're behind closed doors, the surface is the truth. So the apartment knows the truth, even though it only... But anyway, so then when people come in dressed up as Laurel and Hardy and, you know, George Clooney, yes, this is why I do it! And so the apartment's thrilled. Anyway, so, but it's not too happy with this guy, because this guy is, he's not really the apartment's cup of tea. cup of tea. Anyways, Halloween comes, and the apartment, everything's going great for this guy. He's so happy, everybody's like thrilled. They're like, I can't believe this is the guy. And then his boss is there, his boss even comes because somebody texts him, like, you have to come, this guy's not who we thought he was. And they see all these horrors, and, you know, like there's faces coming out of the walls, and, you know, beating hearts out of the floor. There's a big pit in the floor that looks like it goes down to hell, but it's actually like a cone above with a mirror on the floor. It's a whole crazy special effects thing. And even the girl he likes shows up, and she is like psyched, and she's like, oh, yeah, this is great. But then, like sometime during the evening, you know, he sees this like woman come out of the bathroom, and she's just white as a sheet, and she's like, oh fuck, somebody threw up in my bathroom. And then she like goes over to her boyfriend, and she's like, and they leave immediately. You know, they leave the apartment immediately. And then like other people come out of the bathroom, and they're just like, you know, one guy looks like he just wet himself or something, and they're leaving. You know, as soon as they like use the bathroom, they're like going, and then you know, he's like there, and there's nobody in his apartment. You know, after, and then but there's like coats still, and there's like some purses left behind, and so he's cleaning up, and he's doing all the thing, and you know, the party's over. Nobody really said goodbye, and he's kind of feeling dejected and stuff. And but he also has to go take a piss, so he goes into the bathroom, and like the black shower curtain is drawn across the thing, and he's like unzipping, and like it's kind of like it's like pulsating a little bit. It's like, oh, it's like a breeze. Maybe it's like coming up through the drain or something. It's like, oh wait, you know, maybe somebody's like hiding back. They're like, oh, you like hide, and like. But he doesn't like pull it back because you know, he's alone in the apartment, and the only thing he can think is that. And so he reaches across and he pulls it, and there, it's just American chop suey, a big mound of American chop suey covered with like 2% milk, and it just reaches out and it grabs him, and that's just like it. And so that's sort of the end of the story, but then of course like the epilogue is then that somebody else moves in like a year later, and then they also find like Halloween decorations on the upper shelf, and one of them is this guy who's now like sticking out of the wall screaming and this stuff. So anyway, yes, that's Apartment 5 is alive. So yes, thank you very much. Thank you for checking that out. And our next segment is going to be a true ghost story segment. So we're going to turn up the lights a little bit. I'm going to ask Blake to come back up again, and then we'll see what happens. Are you up there, Blake?
I'm right here.
Oh, there you are.
I'm going to turn
the lights up just